I think we're gonna lose this daylight, and this video is gonna get dark toward the end. But we call it the intimate version of the video. Okay.
All right. How y'all doing, Soul Food Minutes? It has been probably more than a month. But there is good reason for this. And the reason is work. Yeah.
Like Rihanna say, work, 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 work.
Yeah, a lot of work. No, man, we to be real with y'all, we work 14 hours Monday through Friday. So, naturally, life comes first and your necessities and things like that. And right now, work provides for that. So, as much as we would love to be here with y'all on our designated Saturday, we got to sustain our roof over our head and
We do.
our food. So, just having Saturday and Sunday, most of those days we sleep. Yeah, we sleep.
We do. We literally we usually have a lot of plans. Like I am learning to not fool myself because nearly almost every weekend I'm like, "All right, we're gonna do this and we're gonna go to weekend, we're gonna go to the gym, shoot our videos, work on our podcast because we each have individual podcasts. And I give us props. For the most part, we are keeping up with the individual projects. And I think part of that is because podcast is easier to produce, right? You can literally produce your podcast anywhere as long as there's not too much noise. You're good to go, and you can do it in any setting. There's no need for camera setup and lighting and all this other thing. So we have been generally keeping up with our podcasts, but we're just not being good with this.
Yeah, and I mean, mostly is just because again, this takes a different level of discipline. Let's put it that way. Not that we aren't committed. It's just you gotta. All right, do we have the time? Are we ready? Do we? We know what we're gonna say. What we gonna talk about? All of this. Is our chemistry straight? Did I get mad at you today? Yes. No. No. Did you get mad at me today? Okay. Cool. We can do it. So.
But we have no come up with a plan to sort of keep this coming on a regular basis, even with our crazy schedule. But this is the first time we've both been working this much. That's what it is. Because usually one person might be working crazy, but the other person is a little less, and they can take care of household and things like that. But this time we're both just grinding and still having to take care of necessities and not live like crazy people with dirty homes. So. But anyhow, that explains why you haven't heard too much of us. But why are we in front of you today?
Well, we're here today to, of course, to review a movie. Y'all already know, man. There ain't nothing else to do out here on Saturday but review movies. And we are going to review Chadwick Boseman's last movie that he was in before he passed away. Viola Davis is in it. Some other great people that you may know, and as we do as a people, we just know them from the movie. We never know your real name, so it's just what it is. But we are reviewing Mama Rainey's Black Bottom. All right. If you have not seen it, it is on Netflix. It is a great movie. It's a short movie, actually. It's not too long. Maybe about an hour and 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. As I said in the beginning, if for nothing else, watch it was because it was Chadwick Boseman's last work before he passed away. And of course, he gave an outstanding performance. I think he won
As he always does.
2, 3, maybe more awards for his performance. R.I.P. of course to him. But of course, Viola Davis did her thing, and y'all know how we do this. The game ain't switched up, nothing like that. I'll give you a brief overview, and you can chime in for details, or you can do the overview, and I can come in for details. So whatever you want.
I'm gonna keep it short. I mean, this was the first time I saw Chadwick in like I don't know, but it was total different role for him for sure than Black Panther and other things you see him in. So, and Viola Davis too. So, and it was a timepiece, right? This is based in
It was a period piece.
Yeah, a period
And
piece.
it was like 1920s, 1930s,
Yeah,
40s maybe.
exactly. So there was a lot of, you know, expect they play the roles very well, none less to say, and you can sort of like a lot of great acting you can live through the actors and the characters if they do it so very well. Like it was very heartbreaking at the end
Mm-hmm.
how it worked out, and it was so complex with like mental health and not having what you need and being frustrated and being taken advantage of, all of those coming together to result in the final act, which was very heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it coming, but at the same time, once it happened, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
not impossible because of ABCD, because of the way things had come together. I don't know if you want to make this. I mean, we should. Should we? I don't. I'm like talking in a way where I'm like, if I don't want to do any spoiler alerts.
I mean,
I'm trying not
this
to.
movie has been out since last year. And I know we don't want to do spoilers, so spoiler warning to anybody who hasn't seen it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, again, if you want to go that route, I'll do my best not to spoil
Mhm.
it. So I guess we're going that route.
Mhm.
So let me just jump in on what you said. I think this was a very different role for Chadwick because we've
Mhm.
never seen him as the bad guy.
Mhm.
Essentially, like the true bad guy. Like he's been I guess, an anti-hero in some things, or a little have a gray area here and there. But in this role in place, he was uh, essentially Killmonger. You know what I mean? And I say Killmonger because we all know from Black Panther, Killmonger has that kind of in between area where it's like, yeah, he's bad, but he makes points at the same time. And
Mhm.
that was kind of the connotation I had with Chadwick Boseman's character in this. And unfortunately, as we all know, we won't get to see him in any more roles. But it was I think a lot of times actors and actresses don't want to be typecast as just
Mhm.
one character. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, I don't want to just be the hero for forever, or I don't want to just be the comedian for forever. Um, Kevin Hart had a really good movie about that. Like, he was like, I just don't want to be the comedian anymore. I think it's on like Hulu or Amazon or
Is that
something like
the
that.
one we watched? I think
We did
I.
watch that.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but
But
I
he
do
wanted
remember.
to be an action star, like his co-star in a lot of movies, The
Oh
Rock.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. I remember
it was a
that.
great, hilarious little
Yeah, it
movie.
was a funny one.
Fun Saturday night if you guys want to watch it. But
Yes,
anyway,
we might do that later. Yeah.
yeah, it was a great little movie. But excuse me, for those who didn't know, I think, and for those of us who did, it just showed the depth of his acting ability, especially being under the cancer treatment that he was under, and the things that he was going through to still give that performance
Mhm.
that, in a lot of ways, just, you know, rightfully stole the show. He was a star of the show. And I don't even think he was intended. I think, a lot of times when people are, just great at what they do, I wonder, out of all the roles, was he just like, or his agent was like, look, you got to do this role. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the part for you. Because he could have played, well, not anybody, but there were a couple of different roles in there where it could be like, okay, you could have did that one, or you could have did that one. But he was paired, and I think what I loved about it, especially, being an American African, somebody who grew up seeing a lot of these different actors in different roles, it was almost like J. Cole's middle child. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because he
Mhm.
was dead in the middle of two generations. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
He was little bro and big bro all at once. You know what I mean?
Shout out to J Cole.
Yeah, shout out to Cole. The off season is great. But
It is.
in that instance, he was working with actors who, in a lot of ways, he was standing on the shoulders of. They
Mhm.
paved the way for him to essentially get that role. And in this moment, to give a brief background of his character, he was a lot of ways, and the best way to put it was just, I mean, he was a hood baby. That's the best way to put it. And he was a hood baby for his time. And he was filled with so much anger and frustration,
Mhm.
and he had a thought process of, it's me against the world. That
Mhm.
was kind of what he felt, and that's what his
Mhm.
character embodied. But as you got to know the character, you understood the reason why. Because as we said, with this being a period piece, his family had gone through some tragedy with the KKK, and that had shifted his whole worldview and perception. And unlike most of our people during that time, and even in this day, and I don't feel this is taking away too much of the character, but he did believe in God. You know what I mean? Which is, again, this is maybe 1930s, 1940s. I'd say maybe 2 generations removed from slavery. You know what I mean? So a lot of us still, and still to this day, believe in, blonde hair, blue eye, curly Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. And his worldview was changed because of what happened to his family with the KKK. And that kind of pushed and drove him in a negative way, which you'll see in the movie, but also in a positive way, because he wanted to better himself. He wanted to say, well, I'm going to be ambitious. I'm going to take the role. I'm going to shift and move things around. And this is the sound. Like he was essentially what we were talking about in our, in our private time a little bit was, I think one of the greatest things that you have in the hood is this untapped potential of creativity. You know what I'm saying? There's this untapped potential of, I can do something and make it better. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows that, for example, ribs can just be ribs. Not anybody, but a lot of people can make ribs, right? But when you go to the right place in the right spot and somebody just, ooh, I put it with this. Ooh, I dabbed it with that. Ooh, I put it, and these ribs are out of their mind. It's like, yo.
The ribs are out of their mind.
Yeah, the ribs are out of their mind. You know what I'm saying? It's like they lost it. So, the ribs are out of their
ribs like, ooh.
Yeah, the ribs lost their mind. You know what I mean? It showcases that, yo, we can do something and we can flip something in a way that has never been done before. You know what I'm saying? I feel like his character embodied that. But he also embodied what was true to the time as well. A lot of the record companies and a lot of artists, even today, have talked about, the record company didn't do you right. They don't do you right. They don't treat you right. This is, 2021. You know what I'm saying? So imagine what it was like back in 1930, 1940. Segregation is still going on. I mean, they're not in the... And the interesting thing that I loved about this movie was it only took place in a couple different environments.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It only took place in a couple different environments, and it was really a movie that you have to watch, not just for the acting, but you have to watch for the scenery and the symmetry that plays with each character. Because as we remember in the movie, Chadwick's character kept trying to break through this door in the beginning. Like when he first got down there, he kept trying to break through the door. He kept trying to break through the door. He kept trying to break through the door. And he kept trying to remember, like, yo, we last time we was here, this door was open. Last time we was here, this door was open. But the door wasn't open. You know what I mean? And it was such a symbolic gesture of him breaking through that door. But unlike most movies, when you have a breakthrough, his breakthrough wasn't a positive one. It wasn't a good one. It wasn't one that allowed him to, as they say, the arc of the character to change in a positive way. The arc of the character did change, but it didn't change in a positive way. And you saw that in the accumulation of everything that happened to him during this movie and everything that happened to him before this movie. So that's a brief, not trying to give too much away. I think what else I enjoyed about this movie was how all the different characters played off each other. You know what I'm saying? And it was essentially, the focus was, it was on the band, even though Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is the title of the movie, and she is, the lead role and everything like that. But the band showed the dynamics, in my opinion, of African Americans. You know what I'm saying? Because you had the hope of kind of the older generation in the sense of, look at how far we came, things like that, everything I've been through, but we need to do better. You know what I'm saying? We need to see better. You have the faith aspect in the one character who was kind of like the lead of the band. He was like, I believe in God. This is my God. This is what he brought me through. This is what, has paved the way for me. And then you have the one who's just kind of always, like, I mean, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a dude on the block. You know what I mean? Like, we all, if you, again, obviously we do these reviews for you to watch the movie, but if you watch the movie, you'll see, I think, like we talked about, yourself and your family members and different characters in this movie. You know what I mean? So I have more, but I'll let you go.
Oh, okay. No, if anything, I will say that what one great positive thing of positive, I guess, lesson or view or whatever was the mama's insistence on her little cousin, or was it her nephew? I think it was her nephew. So they had the band, and they were recording this
The track.
the track, right. And she came in. She's a lead and everything. So of course she came in there. She did her thing. She's like, I'm gonna show this record. They're not gonna take advantage of me. And you can tell she's been through a lot. You can tell she's been taking advantages of a lot. You can tell she's gone through a lot to a point where now she's like, if I ask for X, Y, and Z, I get X, Y, and Z. If you don't give it to me, I'm gonna walk away because I know that you just gonna utilize me for the voice, and then you're gonna make a whole lot of money than you're gonna give me. She's already essentially accepted that she's going to be used to make a whole lot of money than she's ever gonna be given. You know, and so she came in. She came in with her nephew. I think, yeah, her nephew, who she was like, the nephew's gonna do this part of the track, and came to find out the nephew stutters. What was that? Yeah, I think that, yeah, he stutters. So they had to try like 100 times, and there were many times where everybody, the record owner, the other members of the band were ready to give up and were like, we're gonna stop. But she was like, ain't nobody else gonna do this part but my nephew. I promised him that he's gonna do this nephew and get paid, and that he's gonna do this part and get paid, and he's gonna do this part and get paid. And they tried many times, but he did it. That was the first time he did it, and then the thing wasn't recording. And that was hilarious. And then they had to do it. So I really appreciated that, because even though it was a small part, but it was a very perseverance. Like, listen, if you are bringing somebody on and you've made that promise and somebody can do it, because this is a young boy, right? And this her way was empowering.
Okay.
I'm back. We're back. We're back on the mic. We're back on the mic.
Why you take the mic?
I didn't.
All right, y'all. But continuing on with what you were saying. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, our battery died for some reason, even though it was full when I started this thing. But we're back. Technical difficulties. But no, I was saying it was a great example of persevering through and showing somebody that you believe in them, especially when they're doing what they can do. Because that boy was going at it. Ooh.
Okay.
Forgive me.
All right, we'll let that do that, and I'll just say, hey.
Wow. I'm back.
All right.
Thank you for keeping the crowd warm.
Gotta warm up for you.
No, but that was a great example, is all I'm saying, because they went through and tried tons of time, but he got it. And then the second part of that is when they were done, then the record company wanted to pay the nephew from mama's paycheck, and mama was like, no, he did a job, I did a job, we both need a paycheck, you're not going to take his money out of mine. And so essentially he has to fight for what they were getting. She learned. She was just there was the small ways that there was some scenes and some requests that she made that seemed very odd and very like, why is she so pushed on this? And then later on, when you see her talking to other folks, and you get, okay, it wasn't about the request itself, right? It was her way of making sure they're giving her the respect she deserves, making sure they know that she's got the voice, and if they don't want to work for her, they don't want to work with her, but she's not going to sit there and be disrespected or taken advantage of or be lowballed. And I'm willing to bet she's been lowballed and disrespected many times before. So she's essentially come to a point where she's like, if I ask for X, Y, and Z, give me X, Y, and Z. If you don't want to give me X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna bounce my black body out of here, and you can go and find you somebody else. Period. And they work with her. You can see that there's always, oh, we can do this because of X, Y, and Z. But then, as she said, you know what? I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go. You can record with somebody else. I'm gonna go find another record company and work with. Then all of a sudden, they have a way of answering and giving her what she needs. So that, I thought that was a very powerful part of the movie, in a positive light, at least, compared to some other not so fun scenes that we have to
Yeah.
that were true.
Um, I think this movie, and I know, and I hope one day we won't have to say this as a black people, specifically. But again, this movie speaks exactly to what happens today. In a sense, and I think you hit it on the head when you said fighting. You know what I mean? We fight so much, man. Like we fight so much that we don't even think about it at times, and we're uh, so cool about just about everything that it just makes you feel like we don't have an opinion on anything. But when you meet an individual like Mama Rainey, um, who is and essentially just asking for be treated like anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Asking to be treated like any other artist. You gotta understand the gravity of what that meant back in 1930, 1940-ish. You know what I'm saying? For a black artist to not only have a record deal, but to be able to call the shots, make demands, say this is exactly how I want things to go. And even more so, know how the game is played, because that's what Chadwick Boseman's character was missing, was he didn't know how the game was played. And she knew how the game was played. She'd been in the game for a while. And you got to understand, and the interesting thing, which I tell people all the time, especially when we study American Jim Crow, uh, yes, the segregation may have been open in the South, but it was across the country. They had went to Chicago to record this session, because at that time, all the best or well-known recording studios were in the North. You know what I mean? Like Chicago, Detroit, New York, things like that. There really wasn't any people in the South. There wasn't really anybody in California and things like that. It just, that's where you went. So, one of the images that I think, and you kind of knew what was going to go forward. If you've seen movies like this before, you kind of knew, like, oh, there's going to be some conflict, there's going to be some hardship or whatever. But I think the opening scene when they got into the car crash kind of introduced you to, Viola Davis's character, Mama Rainey, and what she was about. And even where she stayed, like at that time, she stayed in one of the better hotels, which was uncommon. This was probably downtown Chicago. So imagine this, a black woman, another woman, and her nephew all staying in a white, probably only hotel. And not just coming through the back, but she came through the front door. You know what I'm saying? And she essentially embodied the aspect of the diva. You know what I'm saying? Like she wasn't Beyonce, she wasn't Diana Ross. She wasn't any of those things, because that wasn't the diva of the day. She was the diva of the day, and even more so, what they highlighted and hit upon and was her sexual orientation. You know what I mean? Which was another thing that if you study Harlem, and the Harlem Renaissance is talked about. I mean, it's been in every society. We've always had members of the plus community, like they're everywhere. They've been in every culture in the world. But again, during that time, during the 1930s, 1940s, especially in the black community, that wasn't talked about. That wasn't unheard. Nobody talked about that. Nobody said anything about it. And to talk about it openly, because that was one of the tensions that Chadwick Boseman's character had with Mama Rainey, was, like, oh, I want to, smash your girl. You know what I'm saying?
And he did. He did.
Right, and he did. You know what I'm saying? He did his thing. You know what I mean? And kudos to him. But it was interesting to see that dynamic, and to see Viola Davis, and I've never seen Viola Davis in that role. You know what I mean? So that was interesting to see how she captured that in that period and that time. The only other thing that I would think about was just the different conversations. I think this is a very conversational movie. You have to pay attention to the conversations of what's happening. And I would even say you watch it once just to see the movie. You watch it again to really look at each scene, and then you watch it a third time to really understand the conversations and what happens, because it's a marriage of music in many ways. It's a marriage of the time and the place, and it was a marriage of these different characters being in this time and being in this space and having to navigate your blackness and what that means. The same way we have to navigate now our blackness and what that means, and what's most important and what's not important, and why do you value this, and what is that done for
Picking your
you.
battles.
You know what I'm saying? And even one of the characters, which was again, we're not giving away, we're not spoiling this one, so but one of the characters, he was a musician, and even at that time you gotta, and this is so interesting because I'm an old soul, and I grew up with the old folks. My grandfather tells me about how people who weren't in the church and played secular music, like at that time it was jazz or I almost say hip hop, but hip hop wasn't invented yet. But it was like juke joints and things like that. People who played in those, it wasn't seen as you were high class or you weren't high value. And one of the characters, he was in love with a girl. He was about to get married to the girl. Or they were married or something. No, I think they were about to get married. And she said she couldn't marry him because he played secular music. But he was the perfect guy. And I think she ended up, I don't know, I think she ended up getting abused or something like that or whatever. But he was like, I loved her, but I loved my music as well. You know what I mean? So it's always kind of like, and especially in certain movies where you talk about musicians, they try and always play out the work and home life dynamic. You know what I mean? Because as musicians, you have your love of your music. You know what I'm saying? Your love for your music, and any artist. You know what I'm saying? You love what you love. It's always going to be there for you. You know what I mean? But you know that that's not a real physical human being. You know what I mean? And that was just amazing. And we saw the dynamics between the lead character, Mama Rainey, in the sense of, you have your brothers who just gonna follow the rules. Whatever the rules are, they're gonna follow the rules because that's the way it's been set up. That's the way it goes. That's the way it is. And never really have that ambition, that drive to say, well, maybe we can switch it this way, or maybe we can do it that way, or maybe we can do it this way and that way. And it was just, it was so many different things that, again, if we were doing spoilers, I could tell you, but we're not. And I'm trying to, just gauge it in a way that, it was essentially, and I don't think he intended it to be, but it was Chadwick's movie, man. You know what I'm saying? It was really his movie, and you see so many different things from his point of view and his perspective and how he interprets things. And if you have old uncles or old aunties, like even the way he talks and the way that he, interprets things, and the way that we get into these arguments amongst each other, and it's reminiscent of, like I said, 2 years removed of what happened on the plantation, but also what happened in that time, and also what happens today. You know what I'm saying? All of these different things. So that's me. I'm done. It was a great movie. It really was, man. What you got?
No, that is it. I've said most of what I need to say. Go ahead and watch it, because we can sit here and talk about it all day long. Watch it, and that's Mama Rainey's Black Bottom. Watch it on Netflix. I'm sure it's on other places, but look it up. Watch it where you can. As I say, let us know how you like it. Let us know what you think of it. Comment it below. As per usual, please share, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button, ding, so that so that next time we post something, you can get noticed. But that is it. Have a beautiful, blessed week and rest of the weekend. Stay safe out there. May all the wishes and all the blessing come for you. Peace.